Engineering, working in Jain Government Polytechnic College, Ramantapur, Hyderabad. Going to teach for 5th semester students. My subject name is Refrigeration and Air Conditioning. In this subject, the topic name is Refrigerants and Equipments. The subtopic name is Requirements of Refrigerants. In the requirements of refrigerants, we learned many requirements. Okay, the previous class we discussed about the evaporator and its functions and classification of evaporators and different types of evaporators. Okay, today we will be able to know about the what is an expansion device and know the various types of expansion devices, understand the principle of capillary tube and working principle of thermostatic expansion valve and working of solenoid valve. Okay, first expansion device. What is the expansion device? The expansion device is called as metering device or throttling device. Okay, it located between the receiver and evaporator. In between the receiver and evaporator, it separates the high pressure and low pressure side of refrigerating system. Okay, so a high pressure side to low pressure side of a refrigerating system. The expansion device is used with dry expansion evaporator is called as expansion valves. If expansion device used with floated evaporators are known as float valves. So we have the two types of expansion devices. If we use a dry type of expansion evaporators, it is called as expansion valves. If we use the floated type evaporator, then it is called as float valves. The function of expansion devices are reduces the high pressure liquid coming from the condenser to low pressure liquid refrigerant before supplying to the evaporator. It supplies the refrigerant according to the load on the evaporator. Okay. Types of expansion devices. The expansion devices are one is capillary tube and thermostatic expansion valve and automatic expansion valve and solenoid valve. Next and high side float valve and low side float valve. These are the types of expansion devices. Okay. Next one is capillary tube. The capillary tube, see the diagram of capillary tube. Here one is the capillary tube, another one is evaporator and another one is a strainer is there. Okay, first liquid refrigerant from condenser. So where liquid refrigerant comes from the condenser. Before condenser what we studied compressor to condenser, condenser to evaporator. In between condenser and evaporator there is a one valve, is the expansion valve. Okay, the expansion valve, here the expansion valve, in the expansion valve is nothing but here we are keeping the capillary tube, one of the one type of expansion valve, and here we kept the capillary tube. In this capillary tube having the strainer, it collects whatever the liquid refrigerant from the condenser. It's sent through the capillary tubes. This the in between the capillary tube and evaporator there is a strainer is kept. Okay, as a liquid refrigerant passes through the tubes to the evaporator, the high pressure refrigerant is converted to low pressure refrigerant and low temperature. As the pressure decreases, temperature decreases, it absorbs the whatever the temperature inside it absorbs the heat, extract the heat from the evaporator or substances and then sent to the outside as a vapor refrigerant. See here the small diameter tube connected between the condenser and evaporator. So this small diameter is connected. Constant restricted type devices, it is morely tube with narrow R of a flow. So in the capillary tube Now, the required pressure drop is obtained due to heavily functional resistance offered by a small diameter tube. The capillary tube is a frictional resistance offered is directly proportional to its length and inversely proportional to its diameter. So the frictional resistance is directly proportional to its length and inversely proportional to its diameter, and used in domestic refrigerators, water coolers, and small commercial freezers. And then capillary tube is in the capillary refrigerant enters the capillary tubes, and due to the frictional resistance offered by the small diameter tube, the pressure drops takes place. The capillary tube is used for a small capacity units up to 1 ton. Up to 1 ton we use this capillary tube. We can use in domestic purpose also, but it will be restricted to up to only 1 ton. The merits of a capillary tube is simple in construction and no maintenance cost is required. The cost of capillary tube is less, and the leak-proof device and easily repaired. And the system using this device does not require service valves and receiver. And demerits of capillary tube or cannot be used with high fluctuating load conditions, and the refrigerant must be free from the moisture and dirt. Otherwise it will choke the tube and stop the flow of refrigerant. The next one is the thermostatic expansion wall. In the thermostatic expansion wall, in the thermostatic expansion wall, thermostatic expansion wall. See the diagram of thermostatic expansion wall. Here diaphragm is there, bulb pressure and wall seat, inlet strainer and spring and bulb adjusting screw and evaporator pressure is there. Okay, the thermostatic expansion wall designed to meet the variations in load. The also called superheat wall because it maintains the constant superheat of the vapor refrigerant at the exit of the evaporator. Thermostatic expansion wall consists of a needle valve seat, a diaphragm, spring and adjusting screw, and also has a feeler bulb mounted on a suction line near outlet of the evaporator coil. So in the expansion wall, the feeler bulb is partially filled with the same liquid refrigerant used in the system. The opening and closing of the valve depends upon the three forces acting on the diaphragm. The thermostatic expansion wall, the spring pressure P1 is acting on the bottom of the diaphragm, and the evaporator pressure P2 acting on the bottom of the diaphragm. Okay. And the feeler bulb P3 is acting on the top of the diaphragm. The P3 equal to P1 plus P2. So here spring force acting bottom diaphragm is equal to pressure acting on the bottom of the diaphragm and the top of the diaphragm. This is equal to P3 equal to P1 plus P2. P3 equal to P1 plus P2. Is here when the cooling load increases, the refrigerant evaporates at a faster rate than the suction rate of the compressor. Okay, degree of superheat and its pressure in the bulb increases. As the refrigerant in the bulb expands, it transmits the pressure to the top of the diaphragm through the capillary. The valve opens more and more refrigerant is admitted. When cooling load decreases, the refrigerant evaporates at a slower rate. The pressure drops and degree of superheat decreases. Feeler bulb is cooled, the refrigerant contracts and transmits less pressure to the diaphragm. This reduces the opening of the valve and thus flow of refrigerant into the evaporator. This continues till the spring pressure and evaporator maintains the equilibrium within feeler bulb pressure. So it maintains the temperature, spring pressure equilibrium with that pressure with the feeler bulb pressure. Next one is the solenoid valve. The solenoid valve, you see the diagram of solenoid valve. Here one is the cover, next is the solenoid coil, another one is the body and refrigerant in, and the stem, plunger, valve seat and refrigerant out. Okay, this is the diagram of a solenoid valve. You can see anywhere in the solenoid valves in the you can see in this solenoid, it's operated by a control device similar to hand operated stop valve. It is placed in between the condenser and evaporator. It allows the constant flow of refrigerant and or stop the flow. A solenoid valve consists of insulated copper wire known as a solenoid coil. A plunger or iron armature is placed inside the coil. The plunger consists of a system with a valve attached at the lower end. When the plunger moves downwards, closes the valve port by the valve. When the plunger moves upwards, open the valve. A port along with the stem and valves. The valve can be opened or closed by energized or the energizing the solenoid oil. When the electric contact closes the energized solenoid coil, pulls the plunger up and down, open the valve. So, as the de-energization of oil causes the plunger to drop down due to the self weight and closes the valve. So, as the energize, the plunger will opens. As the de-energized, the plunger will closes. As the energized, de-energized, it works. Okay, so it opens and closes. As it opens and closes, the flow of refrigerant. The flow of the refrigerant flows. As it opens, the refrigerant flows. As it closes, refrigerant stops. So it depends on the opening and closing of the valve. This is another system, the solenoid valve. So different types of valves are there that we call as expansion valves. Okay, in this class we discussed about the expansion devices, types of expansion devices, and capillary tubes, merits and demerits of capillary tubes. So capillary tubes we are nowadays we are using in the domestic purpose like refrigerators and freezers. Different like domestic purposes. Okay, there is it is limited to up to 1 ton only. Okay, and there is a and next thermostatic expansions are again with thermostatic expansion we studied, and solenoid valve and generally we use in different operating systems and refrigerating systems. Okay, this is about the expansion devices. Okay, thank you. We see in the next class.